So I've just recently come back from the IT Nation Europe event in London. And it's hosted by our friends over at ConnectWise. So ConnectWise is the largest global vendor of MSP-specific products and MSP-specific services. So this event is a gathering of some of the most influential and the most impactful MSPs in Europe in one location where we can really plan for the future. Technology is constantly evolving, constantly changing, and we're trusted by our customers to deliver the best possible service for them and make sense of this changing world. So it's a great opportunity for us to gather together, compare notes, to share different ideas about the direction of travel for our industry, the best ways in which we can support our customers into the future, and what sort of things we need to have our eye on if we want to make sure that our customers are secure in such an ever-changing world. There were so many things that came out of that event that I could talk about, but I just wanted to distill it down into 4 main categories to discuss. The first is that the traditional IT support model is broken fundamentally. And the second is that cybersecurity, cyber threats continue to get more impactful, they continue to increase in scope, and they're also now firmly a board level issue and not just something that can only be owned by IT. The next thing is about productivity, and the best, most productive companies see software and technology solutions as being well integrated together rather than just accumulating more and more products to achieve the same goals. And finally, and something that's quite important and quite a big topic of discussion at the moment, is about underinvestment in IT, and particularly seeing IT as being a cost center. And there are some things that people need to be aware of when they view IT as being a cost center rather than a revenue and growth driver, and I'll discuss those today. So why do I say that the traditional IT support model for MSPs is broken? Well, a lot of mid-market SME companies still see IT support as being help desk driven. So in other words, you have an issue with your IT, you call a help desk, they resolve it for you. And in a lot of cases, SMEs, mid-market companies have a patchwork of different vendors, different solutions for various different aspects in their business, be that the connectivity, the communications, the wireless infrastructure, the security, physical security infrastructure, the cyber security infrastructure, as well as the IT support. Now, in some cases, that's just by the way things have grown over time. And in other cases, that's a deliberate move from companies to get different vendors for different services, perhaps to use each vendor to bounce off each other, to keep each other in check, or just to get the best possible deal. You can see the logic in that, but the reality is that often leads to inconsistent fixes, an inconsistent experience across different sites, perhaps. That can lead to issues reoccurring, or even can lead to poor visibility of where your root causes for issues are coming from. The best MSPs now view help desk as table stakes. That's just a given that you expect a helpful, friendly service team who can resolve issues for you. The best MSPs, though, they focus on outcomes. So whether that be keeping your business secure from various cyber threats, or keeping your business ready for new innovations such as AI or automation, or just giving advice or proactive strategy on the best new innovations in IT. That also includes things like the physical and digital side of your business. So your modern workplace tools, your cloud management, your cybersecurity. Having these managed separately is often the way that businesses view their IT, or businesses work with their IT, but that doesn't always produce the best results. When we think about cyber threats, the common misconception that a lot of SMEs and mid-market businesses have is one of, we're too small to be impacted. Why would any hacker go for us? That probably stems from the assumption or the old, outdated view that most hackers are just people in a hoodie in their basement, tapping away on a laptop, targeting specific companies. And that's not really the reality. When we think of state-sponsored cyber gangs, we're thinking actually about businesses. These are big corporate entities with HR departments, weekly targets, and revenue objectives all to meet. And they will attack any UK-based business or Western business that is vulnerable. The National Cybersecurity Centre talks about how an uncertain world adds to the number of cyber threats that UK businesses face. So that means anyone's in scope. And that means, therefore, that cyber resilience is not an IT issue. It's a board level issue that should be owned through every layer of your business. And to protect your business requires a holistic approach. It's not the case that I can just put an antivirus client on my laptops anymore, which might have been the case a few years ago. Now, cybersecurity involves several different layers, be that endpoint detection and response, managed detection and response, vulnerability scanning, user awareness and training, and email security tools, including DMARC, DKIM, and SPF records. These are things that have to be owned by the board because they have to be led at every single level of the business. They can't be led through IT alone. And you have to accept that there's a certain baseline level of spend that you need to put into cybersecurity that will have to increase with inflation every year. And it might sound painful in the short term, but the threats are real and they are devastating if not taken seriously. And anyone investing in their cybersecurity today will thank themselves for it in the future. The best MSPs will have spent countless hours standardizing their tech stack. They'll have made sure to do really thorough testing to ensure that the stack does what it says it's going to do. They'll have trained their staff to make sure that they understand how to implement it correctly, and they'll be well integrated into each other to ensure that there's absolutely the best level of efficiency between how all of those tools work well together. The companies that really understand technology and want to get the most from technology understand that the MSP is the expert. The MSP can support you best on their standardized tech stack. And that doesn't just include software. It can also include the physical and the digital side. And the best companies marry those two things together to produce the best results. And furthermore, having one provider gives you the best possible accountability. There's no pointing the finger between different companies. It's just one company that you can go to when you have a problem. With so much volatility in the global economy at the moment, it's understandable that businesses are looking for ways to keep their costs under control. And that can also lead to viewing IT as a cost center rather than necessarily a productivity or a growth driver. And one of the themes that kept coming up at the IT Nation event was around the certain behaviors that can come as a result of this kind of thinking. Now, it's quite common for businesses to look to extend the life cycle of their devices, for example, and perhaps keep them beyond where they normally would. But that might feel like it saves money today, but then when the device breaks later, you're replacing it in a panic. And there's downtime associated with that. Another common behavior is to search for several different vendors to get the best price on every single solution. Now that makes a lot of sense logically. You want to get the best possible price. But when you're adding extra vendors into the mix, there's always going to be an accountability gap where one person owns one solution and one company owns another. And that gap leads to friction that you could experience down the line. The best result always comes from one single accountable provider. And another common misconception is that you can save money on cyber, perhaps we're too small to be targeted. Well, that's really not the case today. Cyber threats are bigger than ever and more devastating than ever. And the message really from IT Nation is any cost savings that you think you might be making in the front end can lead to a bigger shortfall in the back end down the line. Now, if you had a car, you would look to service your car every year. But if you decided that you weren't going to service your car for 2, 3, 4 years, you'd save money on servicing every year. But when you have a major problem down the line because you weren't performing routine maintenance, well, that leads to not just a big bill, but also days, possibly weeks without your car. Think how disruptive that would be. It's the same with IT. We can look to put off costs down the line, but IT is such an important and embedded part of each of our businesses that if we do experience downtime in it, it can be incredibly painful. So the best way is to look to conduct routine maintenance, keep to your renewal schedules, and keep ahead of the competition. So those were my takeaways from IT Nation. It was another great event, and we really look forward to being there again next year. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Or are there any things that you hadn't thought about that I've really stirred up in your mind? Well, let me know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.